And then we're going to move on and look at real-time decision making, but really from a product perspective, the focus there is on anomaly detection. And the domain itself is focused on the organizational aspects of what do I do with the information that's generated, from the product. So anomaly detection is a really good one. Again, you can follow along on your demo tenants here. But if you go to cloud and billing centers, then the anomaly detection in the UI is visible from the tabular view right now. And it's not in dashboard tables, but will be going forward. And you'll see immediately that you go into this view, whatever you've got configured here, you will have this view anomalies button. But you need to think a little bit about what you're actually going to look to detect anomalies for when you go to use this. And that is what are the groups that you're using, okay, and also what time frame are you looking to detect anomalies across. So obviously you're probably looking at daily granularity, right? Spikes in monthly cost is not going to be that useful for you. It will be far too late. And so you can do a 30-day up to or a 31-day window. I'm just going to do February's data, but you would effectively do a rolling 31 days to do that assessment. And then it's, well, what is going to be driving an anomaly, okay, and what information do I need in order to do something about it? In order for it to be useful, we obviously need to know which cloud service is driving that spike, right? Is it EC2 compute? Is it, BigQuery from Google or whatever? And we also would want to know, if I was, an engineer that was tasked with going and finding out what was going on, which account that was going to be in. So the common configuration here would be cloud vendor, account or account name, whichever you want to do, and the cloud vendor service. Okay, but you could use any dimensions that you've created. So if you wanted anomaly detection by cost center, department, whatever RBDs or tag data you've got, you can include those dimensions because, of course, it's useful business context to have. All right. But the base configuration would be, hey, there's an anomaly, something's happening in a particular account, there's a particular service driving that, and therefore that gives us enough information to go find out what's happening. So once you've picked those dimensions here, you've picked the time frame and the cost basis, and again, I would encourage you to use amortized, because if you look on an unamortized basis where you're making commitments, they're big spikes in the bill data which will appear as anomalies. Then you can just click on the view anomaly button, and that will open in a new tab, and it does real-time processing of the data set that you've selected. So the time frame, the dimensions are being calculated here, and I've no idea what I'm going to get from February, so we'll have a look at what we've got. But what this is doing is effectively taking the previous 10 days of spend. Let's pick a better example, this one. So the previous 10 days of spend are used in order to calculate a moving average of cost. Okay, so our dotted line in the middle here is my moving average. And in the UI, 2 standard deviations above and below that moving average are calculated, right? And so this is basically saying the upper limit and the lower limit of the deviations that we would expect are also graphed, and then simply when it breaches that kind of standard deviation, and of course the moving average is calculated as we go along, an anomaly will be reported. Okay, and so we can see here, this is Azure in my solution engineering sandbox with the compute service that is driving these spikes or even drops in spend. We'll look at another example here, again Azure, but this is storage based, and actually we've got quite a significant spike towards the end of February, right, which is $7,000 a day, that I may well want to go and look at that. All right, now it's great seeing it in the UI because it's a really good visual way to show customers the capability, But obviously, you're not expecting people to go into the platform and do this on a daily basis. We're going to go and we have policies that will produce these alerts for you, run this process on a daily basis. And in that policy, you can change a lot of the parameters. So you can configure the time range, you can configure the dimensions, and you can even change the standard deviations that are used. So if you're getting flooded with anomalies, you could increase it to 3 standard deviations if they weren't meaningful for you. And you can also specify a threshold. So, an anomaly would be, a particular service being used that was never used before, even if it was $100 worth of spend. Now, you might not care about $100 when you're paying, $1 million a month for your cloud consumption. So you can specify a dollar threshold for the anomaly alerts as well.